committed to continue to look at where we can build a new one. And in fact, the one that we are hoping to identify is in South McAllen, here in this vicinity.
Thank you. Yes, and I also want to remember and let you guys know that we do have a 9-course disc golf course off of Daffodil and Benson. So we still have a 9-hole course here in McAllen. And like City Manager said, we are currently analyzing new property to see if we can't put back an 18 disc golf course. So, thank you.
La pregunta es tocante el deporte de disc golf. Tenían un parque de 19, ¿verdad? Estaciones. En este momento la ciudad está viendo diferentes propiedades y diferentes lugares en la ciudad para proporcionar algo así. Tenemos un parque disponible en Daffodil que es de 9 lugares, pero es algo que la ciudad está viendo, ¿verdad? Lo que más beneficia a la ciudad, y ven que el interés en este deporte, ¿verdad? Es uno que tienen que buscar la manera de proporcionarles ese lugar.
What can be done over the issue that many people blow leaves with the leaf blower into the drainage? Could that not be an issue for the drainage system?
So, la pregunta es tocante las hojas y las hojas que se están yendo al drenaje, ¿cómo se van a...?
Well, we shouldn't do that, right? We shouldn't put anything into the drainage system, and it's real easy. Honestly, believe it or not, there's some folks that don't understand, and they think there's a hole there, it must be for trash. It isn't. And so I'm going to let Elvira talk about the ordinance that we have. But if you see it, call us, and we will see if we can
Coming up next on MCN, the McAllen Cable Network, the Development Corporation of McAllen from McAllen City Hall. The Development Corporation appointed by the City Commission is charged with making recommendations on how to use money that's been raised from the half-cent sales tax that was approved by McAllen voters on May the 3rd, 1997. The recommendation is made to the City Commission. They make the final decision. And now, the Development Corporation of McAllen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order. This is April 29th, 2024 special meeting of the Community Development of the Development Corporation of McAllen, Inc. And we're going to begin. I just want to, first of all, welcome Mark Voss, our newest member, director of the corporation. And so he was recently sworn in just a few minutes ago, and so welcome to the corporation. Okay. We're going to begin with item number 1, approval of the minutes for a special meeting held March 22nd, 2024. If you've had an opportunity to read the minutes, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. President, I do have a clarification or change. It says 4 p.m. at the top. We met at 8 a.m.
Thank you.
So with that change, I'll move with that approval.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to accept the minutes with the change noted. And there's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 2, receive and file unaudited financial statements for the month ending December 31st, 2023.
Go ahead and get a report by our Finance Director, Sergio Vizana. Is that one on? Not on.
We're good? Okay. Thank you, Michelle. The financial statements before you, we have two sets here. We have the December 31st, 2023 financials, starting with the balance sheet, which is page 106. The Development Corporation ended the month with total assets amounting to $27 million, total liabilities of about $375,000, resulting in a fund balance of $27.3 million. And of course, overall, your assets are mostly made up of cash, investments, liabilities related to accounts payable, projects that are ongoing. If there are no questions, we can jump over to the Statement of Revenues and Expenses, which is page 206. For the month ending December 31st, 2023, the Development Corp had a total of $6.1 million in total revenues, $1.5 million in expenditures, a net other financing uses of $445,000, resulting in revenues over expenditures of $4.1 million. Your beginning fund balance was $23.2 million, adding an additional $4 million from revenues over expenditures results in a $27.3 million fund balance. And I will take any questions regarding either statement.
What page would you say that was?
This one's to page 206, so it is, it should be the third page. And on the top, it should say Statement of Revenues and Expenses.
Yeah.
And the column I was going down is the year-to-date actuals. I forgot to say that. So we take our annual budget, compare it to the year-to-date budget, or put our year-to-date budget there, which is, a straight line approach, and we compare the year-to-date budget to year-to-date actuals, and then whether we have a favorable or unfavorable variances.
We don't project the investment income?
It normally gets budgeted. It may be adjusted at mid-year. I'm not sure as far as beginning balance why we wouldn't have it. I'll have to go back and double check, but normally we do have a investment income budgeted. If there are no questions, staff recommends approval of the December 31st, 2023 financials.
Okay, hold on. But are we going to go through?
Yeah, sorry. We'll jump into the next one, which is March, the most recent quarter. Sorry about the numbering. It gets a little confusing. It looks like we have 106 again. But if you're on the balance sheet, it should say as of March 31st, 2024. If you're not able to find it, please let me know. Okay. So.
And March is half a year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Half a year. Fiscal year. Mm-hmm.
That is correct. So as of March, our assets are at $27 million, liabilities of $326,000, and we ended with a fund balance of $27 million. And so if we turn to the next page, it will be your Statement of Revenue and Expenses as of March. And if you go over to your year-to-date actuals, you'll see total revenue is $13.6 million. We had total expenses of $8.5 million, leaving other financing. We have other financing uses of $1.2 million, which is the net effect of transfers in, transfers out, resulting in revenues over expenditures of $3.7 million. We add that to our beginning fund balance, resulting in our ending fund balance of $27 million. And I'll take any questions regarding any of the statements, whether it be December or March, balance sheet, Statement of Revenue and Expenses.
As of March, things like the medical school district, it's really just the full amount for the year just went out by the 6-month mark rather than the full year, right?
Yes, we don't do our year-to-date budget on a seasonal adjustment. It's kind of straight line. So yeah, that's why you see that variance. You hit it right on the head. Yeah, we paid that out, and the budget's kind of straight line for the 6 months.
Yeah, it's not really an unfavorable position for, at this point in time.
Right.
It's just,
That is correct. That is correct. Any questions?
For us new ones, I'm sorry.
Hold on for just a second. Oh,
Yes, sir. You want me to go?
yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
please.
for us new ones, on page 3 of 6 for the March 31st, 2024, other investments, what is that made of? It's a significant number in comparison. Other investment income?
212?
Yes, ma'am.
212, 231.
Okay, so the 212, so under investment income, that's going to be our government securities, whether it's like a treasury, a note, it's just other government securities. So we have tax pool, which are local government investment
Right,
pools,
right.
and then we'll have certificates of deposit, and then other investments, that's where we put government securities in.
So it's all government securities?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, okay, on page 4 of 6, so these are all of the agencies that come out, that we fund out of this, out of this board. Some of them are, I guess,
yeah, 380s,
380s and
huh?
also
Are the 380?
programs.
Yeah.
not the agencies.
The agencies are on the top part of that same page,
Yeah, the
but
top
yeah,
part of
you
the
do see it
page
correctly.
Has the agencies, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So some of them had used it all up a half year, and some are still have some pending, right?
Yes, so I'm not very familiar with all the, how the agreements are reimbursed, but I have seen, let's say, like our McAllen Economic Development Corporation there is a straight line, 12 months. Here, it's a fixed fee.
So much per month, yes.
Yeah, and so then when you have STC, Avida, I'm not sure if it's performance-based, where there's
Yeah.
maybe a timing issue or them submitting documents,
And then
a
also,
timing.
most of the 380s are due in February, and so those get paid out 100% in March. And then some of these construction projects are kind of an ongoing, so it's kind of a mixture of program types in here.
Okay.
Any other questions?
The only question, I mean, this is kind of different too, because the involuntary demolitions, at one point, I heard, aren't we running a little bit behind, but it seems that we've still way under budget.
Well, because we've been very successful at getting them to voluntarily demolish them once we've
Oh,
taken
okay.
them for condemnation. So that's a plug number that we have,
That's
and
right.
that's a worst-case scenario, but.
So the demos are still occurring, but
Yes.
now it's the property owners taking it
Right.
upon themselves.
We've done about 6 this year, and altogether, probably over 13 have been demolished, so 7 or 8 have been by owner,
Okay,
so, yeah.
that's why.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 3,
Okay, item number 3 is consideration and approval of a budget amendment for the McAllen Heritage Center and the MSIP project. Item number 1 is the McAllen Heritage Center. They were in need of a second AC unit replacement. We had $41,700 budgeted. We needed an additional $19,127 for that project. That was an emergency type project. The second one is McAllen South Industrial, and that represents a budget amendment to adjust for the income, which includes a $1.5 million grant from EDA and a 2.030 letter of credit from the developer that we've partnered with this to make sure that this budget is in alignment with what the reality is. So staff is recommending approval of the budget amendment for items 1 and 2 as presented.
all right, any questions?
Does the Heritage Center get several bids or proposals?
Yes, they do go through our engineering department. Our engineering and parks department work with them to ensure that they are procured properly.
Any other questions?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Okay, for item number 4, this is for the new members. Every year, we hear the outside agencies who have requested Development Corporation funding. In prior years, we've had CDBG board join us, but they have their own sets of projects. So this year, we chose to bring them strictly to you to hear. We will give them a time limit of 3 minutes each to present, and then you can have questions for them if you have any, if you're not familiar with them, if you haven't had a chance to review their applications in depth. So we're going to bring them in one at a time, and then after they've all presented, you all can do your deliberations and decide what, if any, recommendation you would like to make for those agencies. So we're going to go in the order that we received the applications by a timestamp, and so the first one is Comfort House.
Michelle?
And you do have a spreadsheet in here that tells you what everyone has requested and based their 23-24 allocation, which is the current year that they're working on, and then the 24-25 request. Welcome, David. Come on over here.
Right over here.
We're going to give you a time limit of 3. You know the drill. You've done this a few times. 3 minutes to go ahead and present, and then if they have any questions.
Thank you. Good afternoon, respective committee members. Thank you for allowing the Comfort House the opportunity to reapply for funding through the DCMI grant. Our application amount has remained the same from last year, and the amount that is being requested for the Comfort House is to assist with compensation for our caregivers. Our caregivers are the ones who provide the 24-hour palliative care to the individuals that come to stay with us that have a prognosis of 3 months or less. Many times, people ask, how do you describe your staff? Is it hard for them? And I always say they're angels on earth. Stop by and come meet them, and you'll be able to see why I say that, because they are the ones that spend the 24 hours taking care of these patients that are referred to us. So with that being said, I don't think I'm taking up the whole 3 minutes, but are there any questions for me?
How else are you funded, David?
Fundraisers, also CDBG comes into play as well. And always pushing for donations out there when I have the chance to get out there and market for Comfort House.
And what's your total annual budget?
$589.
You have a very successful fundraiser, gala.
Yes, sir.
What do they bring you, around 200 or something like that?
So our largest fundraiser, which will be held November 14th, and actually City of McAllen has been invited to be one of the recipients of our acknowledgments this year. Last year we brought in 125 from that one. Yes.
And then recently you had an expansion, and you're working on some other things.
Yes, we're working very close with the office of Laura Warren, the architect right around the corner from here, because of the fire that we had last year. And so she's been very instrumental in helping us draw out new plans to rebuild and renovate our facility, especially the areas that were affected by the fire. And some of our future plans as well is to add on an additional children's unit to the Comfort House, because we do get the occasional children's referrals, and now with Driscoll Children's Hospital, coming into play, it could be instrumental so we can be able to house more children.
When was the last time you increased your number of beds or your capacity?
Let's see, it's been at 10 beds at least for the past, I've been there for almost 7 years. So I think 2006, if I'm not mistaken, was when they increased to 10. Started off as 2 beds in '89.
You remember Sister Marion?
Strohmeyer? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was the one that started it.
Yes.
Many years ago.
Yes, she did start it, and prior to the fire, in some of her files, I would always find little notes that she hid here and there in some of the books, that were always very encouraging. Anything else?
You guys are great.
I appreciate your comments.
No,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
organization for sure.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Dean.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David.
Okay, our next agency will be Affordable Homes of South Texas, Inc. Bobby Calvillo.
Right over here.
Oh, I see Bobby brought reinforcements here. Okay, Bobby, we're going to give you 3 minutes to present, and then if they have any questions, they'll be addressing those to you.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name's Bobby Calvillo. I'm with Affordable Homes of South Texas. With me is Diana Martinez, who is our rehab coordinator. I've got half the offices here as well. So I don't know who's back at the office, but hopefully somebody is. So our request is for $181,200. With those funds, we project to build 3 rehab units at about $45,000 each. That's the maximum that we would invest in a home. If we can't do it for that amount or less, we would replace it. The remaining balance of that would be for program staff, the partial payment of 2 staff members, as well as benefits under that program. We would leverage about $74,000, which includes the remainder of the salaries plus the office expenses that we would need to cover. We've been doing rehabs since the beginning of our existence, almost 48 years ago. And we continue to do rehabs here in McAllen. That's where we started and where we will continue to do work in McAllen. Any questions?
Well, this is for the rehab.
Yes, sir. It's a portion of the rehab. We also get funding for rehab through the CDBG
For the
program.
CDBG. But the funding, like, you're doing a project in Weslaco,
Yes, sir.
and it has a fourplex and it has a residential component. But that is a different type of funding, right?
Completely.
Completely different. I guess.
We did that same structure in North McAllen.
Yeah.
And so we're going to duplicate it in Weslaco. But yeah, that's completely different.
And you're doing around 15 houses with this money? Or that's the maximum you can do?
With this funding, it's only rehab.
Yeah,
So,
but you're rehabbing around approximately how many?
well, with this funding, it would be three rehabs,
3 rehabs.
up to 3, because we're projecting the maximum rehab.
Yeah.
Some may not need the full 45,000, so it could be more.
What did I read 15 in something?
Perhaps with the other
May have been
funding
another
for new
funding
construction.
source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last year, we did 119 homes, so.
Okay. I'm confused. Okay.
All right, any other questions?
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Bobby.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thanks.
You can do it. Yeah, there you go. Our next entity will be El Milagro, Lower Rio Grande Valley Community Health Management Corporation. Hi. Welcome. You have a hot seat right there. So we get one.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Marisol Resendez, and I'm the Executive Director at El Milagro Clinic. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here and presenting this request for funding. I'd like to start by just telling you a little bit about El Milagro, and I know most of you are familiar with it, but El Milagro is a safety net clinic serving the uninsured in our region, and we provide integrated behavioral care, or we follow the integrated behavioral health model. And so what that means is we provide the primary health care services along with mental health services, nutrition education, diabetes prevention, diabetes management education. We also provide laboratory services, prescription assistance, and we serve as a food pantry, and we also have transportation services for our patients. The two last ones are in our efforts to kind of tackle a little bit more of those non-medical drivers of health. And so in trying to help our patient population get better with their health condition, we found that there's a lot more barriers that go into play. And we partner with the food bank to be able to offer or be an on-site pantry, and we're able to provide food for them. And along with our nutrition program, we have 2 RDs on site, and they're able to prepare a plan for them. And they're able to take some fresh produce home and food with them. And then our second non-medical driver that we're tackling is through a partnership with Uber Health. And so we're able to provide all of our patients with transportation services. And I was very excited to just report last quarter that we had an all-time high for McAllen residents using that service. And we used 154 rides, which is about 51 per month for just McAllen residents. And so what that has allowed us to do is have our patients not be no-shows, and a lot of the times it was because they didn't have transportation or a reliable source of transportation, and so that has been a really great program. And we always try to keep patients in the front of our services and create the programs that are best for them, and so we listen to their needs, and they're ever changing, so as we see those change, we'll make sure to create more and more programs. And our request for this funding cycle is the same as the past 2 years, 280, and it will go towards supplementing or towards a percentage of our salaries, fringe benefits, medical supplies, and office supplies, and Doc's salary, our medical director, a portion of it. I don't know if y'all have any questions for us.
I've got a question.
Yes.
The profit and loss you provided showed a net income of like $333,000. Is that a typical year? Did you receive more funding than other years, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course, it's been pretty much the same for the past 2 or 3 years since COVID. As you know, there was a lot of foundations and a lot of programs, even from the federal government, state, and we also got, I think, supplemental funding for different initiatives like the vaccines. And so we were able to do a lot more with that. That allowed some of our indirect funds that we were using for direct services a lot of the times to kind of put those away. So that's it. Since COVID, it's been helping our finances a lot. So thank you for that question. Yes.
Great.
So roughly you have total assets of around $1.2 million?
Yes.
What you're showing?
Yes.
Which is, from years ago, this is very good.
It is. It is. And I forgot to mention that.
You were running on a shoestring.
Yes, we were. We're very excited to be in the financial situation that we are now. And I forgot to mention that, we occupied, as most of you know, a beautiful building that is city county owned. So it's your building, and you all lease it to us for $1 a year. And so we're so grateful that we're able to do that. Thank you all very, very much for caring and for your continued support and investment in providing health equity for those that are uninsured. Thank you.
Are you seeing more participation, more growth?
Our patient population is about 45 individual patients, like unduplicated patients a year, and about 36 to 38% of those are McAllen residents, but we do see, especially through COVID and moving forward, we did see an increase. We were one of the very few clinics that did not close and move totally to telehealth, as you all know. And I know that during COVID, telehealth was a big benefit. A lot of our patients, though, there's a lot of hand-holding that we need to do for them, and so they really felt like they needed to be seen. We were very fortunate to have partnered with CVS Health to be able to provide COVID testing right on our premises, your building, which is really big, and it allowed for that. And so we were able to get them tested. If they were negative, they would walk to the other side to get seen by a provider in person. If they were positive, we would do telehealth. And so Because of that, I think that a lot of people, a lot of individuals were very comfortable with the way that we provide our services, and there's been an increase ever since.
Can you explain again that Uber transportation?
Yes, I love to, because it's one that, you know, I feel very proud about. But during COVID also, it started as just rights for vaccines. People would say, I cannot go get my vaccine because I don't have transportation or reliable source of transportation. And so we partner up with a national partner. Their name is Sustento. It's a national, I don't want to say foundation, but they kind of go after big dollars and then do like a funnel through other agencies. So they reached out to us and they said, would you be able to use transportation services? And we would pay for them. And I said, absolutely. So it started just for vaccine rights, and very quickly it evolved to, you know, we have this greater challenge with a lot of people not having a reliable transportation. We have a bus stop, as you all know, right outside the building, and we tried the voucher system, we tried a lot of things, but nothing has been as successful as just being able to provide this rights through Uber Health. And the beauty of it is the patient doesn't need to have a smartphone. They don't do anything. We do everything for them. There's a platform that we go on, and we put their information. We put a phone number and say, you know, your ride is ready. Please be outside your home at this time, and then we'll bring you. But they don't even have to worry about coordinating it.
And no charge to them?
No charge to them, no.
And no charge to us either?
No.
Because of the...
Absolutely none, no. It's really wonderful.
Maybe somebody else needs to piggyback on that one. That's a good idea.
I think so. I think if more people would get behind that, I think it'd be great for our region.
How
Yes.
far out do your transportation go?
You know what? That's a really good question. We use it for rural areas as well. We have a mobile unit that I forgot to mention. We have a mobile unit, and we got it also because of COVID to bring testing to the rural areas and the colonias. And even though we go to them, sometimes we partner with the Arise Centers, which have the trust of the community, and we go and park at the Arise Centers or a specific colonia, a community site. But even when we're out there with our mobile unit, we need to bring people sometimes to the community center, so we use the Uber Health. So it goes, and we can go wherever we want to send them. I know that we had a challenge at the beginning when we were using Uber, and we were wanting to bring people from, let's say, Hargill to the clinic. And there wouldn't be any Uber drivers around Hargill. So it would just go around and around and tell me there's no drivers available. So what we did with the permission of our national partner, we said, would it be okay if we called the car or the Uber to the clinic, which we have a lot around McAllen, and then send them without anybody to Hargill, pick up someone, and then come. So it would be like a three-way instead of a two-way ride. And they were okay with that because they knew of the lack of cars out there in the rural area. So that's one way that we got around that. It's a really neat program.
Great. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next request is Lift Fund. They're proposing $200,000, same as last year. And if I know a couple of you may have a conflict of interest. Azimuth does have the confidentiality or the waiver forms for you to sign prior to leaving if you do have any conflicts with any of these entities. Yes, you'll have 3 minutes to present, and then if they have any questions, they will ask you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marlene Rodriguez with Lift Fund, and Michael Coulter, our Chief Lending Officer for Lift Fund. We are here respectfully requesting a $200,000 interest buy-down program so that we can continue assisting our small business communities, our small business businesses here in the city of McAllen, helping them support with their interest buy down in case they were to ask and need funding for their small businesses instead of the customer paying an interest rate. What this program will do is it'll buy down the rate to 0%. We have been doing this program since 2018. The program has been very successful here in the community that has allowed the small business opportunities either to start their business or expand their business operations. And not only that, but it also has created jobs here in the community. And I have a statistic records of how many loans have we done. We've done over 2,100 loans in the community with nearly 9,000 jobs created and retained. 67% are low to moderate income communities, 96% are minorities, 38% are females, and 31% have been startup businesses. Since 2014, the City of McAllen has invested over $530,000 to buy down the interest rate for lift fund loans, which has resulted over $4.8 million in small business loans at a 0% to small business owners. Do you all have any questions about the program?
Has there been a delinquency problem throughout all these years?
No, I'm happy to announce that over our delinquency has been under 4% among the entire organization, and we have dispersed over $500 million in capital to small businesses across our footprint.
Within the specific buy down, this population of loans, there's zero delinquency. We don't have any delinquency in that portfolio.
Now, we've given 200,000, I know for the last 3 years since I've been here. But you mentioned that we've only participated in 200, what was the number you gave us? 400 and some odd?
530,000.
530,000? Mm-hmm. But we've been given 200,000 for many years, haven't we, Michelle, or
Yes, for a
Angie?
number of years, yeah.
No, I think,
It wasn't always that large.
yeah, it was at 150 at one point. 150,000.
That number that you're saying, the 530, that encompasses what time period?
Since inception.
Okay, so we've done way more than 530,000 since inception.
That was my question.
Way more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if when they prepared it, she says this is since inception, but yeah, it was 400, 200 this last year that we're working on now. I think it was 150 the year prior,
Yes, correct.
and then 150 the year prior to that, or was it 100?
So
I
we're
don't
at that
recall
at
what the-
600,000 just for the last
Yeah,
4 years.
yeah.
So, yeah.
What other cities, markets are you assisting other than McAllen?
With this type of program?
Yes, sir.
Well, obviously, the McAllen money is only for McAllen. We have a similar program in San Antonio. We've had one in El Paso in the past, Edinburgh, FAR. We're starting one in Arlington, Texas later this year. I think that Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi.
For a business in McAllen, I don't recall, does it require brick and mortar? Operating location in McAllen? Is this home-based business too?
It can be a home-based business as well. We have to do the due diligence as far as the business operating, that they have their necessary permits and license, and I'm happy to announce that this year, one of our home-based business will be awarded at our SBA luncheon next week as a recipient of a home-based business of the year.
But they do check to make sure that they are in McAllen, because I know we've had one that we did end up having to turn away several years back.
Okay.
Because they actually were
Yeah.
outside.
What's the average loan amount? Is there such a, in a
Yeah.
small business, what's the average?
For the buy down or like?
In here, in our area?
Yeah, so it's going to be about $30,000.
30,000, the smaller ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're traditionally a micro lender. We do engage in larger SBA-backed loans through the Community Advantage Program, but our primary business is micro lending to small and micro-sized businesses.
Good. There's a big need for that.
Fine. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take it.
Okay, our next entity is going to be the McAllen Economic Development Corporation,
I'm gonna need one.
and a request for 1.1 million.
Six. You sure? You sure?
Over here. Keith, over here.
Yeah.
Where the microphones are. We're going to give you 3 minutes for your spiel, and then if they have any questions, we'll let them ask at the end.
And the members of the Development Board, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I have with me my chair, Pablo Tagli, and my executive vice president and financial director, Mark Garcia. And the way we will handle this is I will just give you a very brief overview of what we accomplished during the last year, and then Mark will go over the financial request, if that's okay. So last year, we had 10 commitments of new companies. We had 10 for a total of 5,039 jobs. This is both for McAllen and Reynosa. For a total of 5,039 jobs, 419,000 square feet of space, and a capital investment of $70.5 million. We also had 45 expansions for a total of another 2,575 jobs, 626,128 square feet of space, and that's what we did during the last 12 months. We're constantly working between 20 and 30 companies, and we add about 5 new companies that have an interest in our area, between 3 and 5 a month. So the intake is still very good. With that, Mark?
So our ask this fiscal, next fiscal year, 24-25, is 1,100,000, the same as last year. We didn't increase that at all. The agency portion is $459,733 dollars. A little increase, about 1.2% over what the foreign trade zone put in last year. So the total, our overall budget is $1,559,733. Administrative costs are $167,573, and direct services, $932,426. So we're well below the 25% cap on administrative. We're in line around 15% for fiscal year 24-25. That's all I got.
Do you have any
Any
questions?
questions?
We'll entertain any questions.
Historically, you've always competed against some other cities throughout the state, other areas where these companies may go. Who's been still around that we're competing with to bring these companies in, Keith?
El Paso is fairly strong, and then it varies from there, different companies. And then in Mexico, of course, it's Monterrey. Our 2 biggest issues, quite frankly, right now, is a lack of buildings. We, as you may have read in the paper, we actually put a company in Mission because we didn't have a building, and rather than lose them to the valley, we ended up working with the Mission Economic Development to put the company there. That was about 300 jobs. And and then the second thing that is a big issue that we just found out from losing a company to Monterrey is the State Department Travel Advisory, which classifies Tamaulipas. The state of Tamaulipas is one of 6 states in all of Mexico that is designated as a do not travel state. And we're the only one on the border. We actually lost a company to Monterrey because of that. The companies told their customer who was going to, or their client who was supplier that was going to locate here with a plant on the U.S. side and a plant on the Mexico side, that if they located here because of that State Department travel advisory, they would have to cancel their contract because they cannot send any of their employees in to Tamaulipas to basically certify the company or the plant. And so we know we lost that company because of the travel advisory. So that's something that we will be working on is in Washington, is to get that.
Yeah.
See if we can get it changed or at least equitable with the rest of Mexico.
Yeah, it's rare that we don't see a competition between other states as we get these projects, whether it's on the state level or even the local level. We're working at an aerospace company right now, which we're in competition with El Paso. So it's pretty tough out there, very competitive.
Is the 20 to 30 prospective companies normal, or high, low?
That's about average. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No other questions, President?
So a quick question on the amount of money the foreign trade zone contributes. How is that determined in comparison to how much money the foreign trade zone produces in terms of cash flow?
What that's made up of is mainly the rent. It's in the form of grants, the rent for MEDC, a portion, a pro rata share of Keith's and mine's salary towards the administrative side of it. And there was something else there that, but it comes out to about $459,000. But the bulk of it is rent and that the administrative side of it. Yeah. And then mostly accounting, because we share accounting service between Foreign Trade Zone and MEDC.
Is that the majority of what the foreign trade zone produces, or it is? I mean,
No.
do you have like a percentage of?
Yeah, that's actually a good question too. And what I'd like to mention is that other than the agency amount that we're putting in, as far as the grants are concerned, there's also the additional contribution that we're making with the building for the float studio. That comes to about, at today's rates, about $288,000 a year additionally. So if you look at it, it's close to $247,000 that the foreign trade zone is contributing to the overall budget. Yeah.
That's a good point.
You recently bought a little over 200 acres in North McAllen, which will be in McAllen.
Yes, sir.
So that was from foreign trade zones
Correct.
budget and foreign trade zones money.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And contiguous to the property that.
Yeah, continues to our property.
That was purchased with the help of McAllen.
Yep.
But, okay, so that is owned by the foreign trade zone.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And then we also own another 201 acres on the other side, on the east side of Moorfield as well. So we have a total of about 400 acres, a little over 400 acres.
Almost 500, yeah.
And we have 1,200.
1,200.
Correct.
Well, actually, it's 1,000. 277 of that is the foreign trade zone portion. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the funding for that came from the foreign trade zone. And is there any debt in that buy?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the 201 acres was financed by the Lone Star Bank. And then the other portion was with the Industrial Foundation. Yeah.
And these are not reflected in these figures?
No, sir. No.
That would be a separate entity.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything you do. The only reason I'm going to vote for it is because Pablo.
That's why we brought him.
Okay, our next entity is going to be Vida. They are asking for $600,000 this year, an increase of $100,000 over last year's allocation.
I'm going to have to abstain from this very worthy
Commissioner has
Cause.
completed an affidavit and submitted that already.
I have submitted an affidavit.
Okay, welcome. We will allow you 3 minutes for your presentation, and then if the board has questions for you after that, they'll ask you questions. Okay, whenever you're ready to start.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Felida Villarreal, and I currently have the privilege of serving as president and CEO of VIDA, also known as Valley Initiative for Development and Advancement. With me here today is Irma Garcia, our Chief Program Officer, and April Martinez, who is a current VIDA participant. I'd like to take this opportunity to first thank the City of McAllen and DCMI for your continued support in education and in VIDA's mission, which is to empower residents to achieve economic prosperity through market-driven training, resources, and career pathways. In our grant proposal for the upcoming fiscal year, we'd like to respectfully request your consideration for a grant award in the amount of $600,000 to serve 120 McAllen residents. This is an increase from our current funding award of $500,000. We strongly believe that through our collective efforts and by investing in human capital, we can build and sustain a competitive workforce. We know that education builds the best workforce, and for over 29 years, VIDA has strived to provide students with the necessary resources and tools to ensure their training persistence and completion. For those of you who may not be familiar with our program, we are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we strive to provide our students from low-income backgrounds customized financial assistance that can cover items from tuition, textbooks, tools, uniforms, childcare, transportation, and more. In addition to that, we do provide an intensive case management component, which means that as a team, we currently have 5 full-time career counselors, and every student that enters our program is assigned a career counselor, and they're required to meet with this counselor every week. And so that's what makes us entirely different from other agencies and other colleges in keeping that high training persistence and retention, because these counselors meet with them every single week. They address the barriers and challenges. They keep them motivated and encouraged to completion. Last month, in your blue folder, we have included an up-to-date economic impact report, which was conducted by UTRGV last month. And so this report states that for 2023, every dollar invested in VIDA resulted in a return on invest of $15.69. And this is measured by tracking the wage increases and overall economic outputs generated by our graduates. Another service that we do provide in an after-job placement is that we do track our graduates for 3 years after graduation, and that's again to be able to report to you this ROI. At this time, I would like to invite April Martinez to share a little bit about her assistance through the program.
VIDA has helped me a lot. I started with VIDA when I was 28. I was starting at STC. I'm going for accounting, my associates in accounting. They really helped me out with time management, with stress also, of how to deal with all the stress of being a mom and having to go to school full time and having to manage everything. And also what I really did like was the financial literacy classes. From that, I was able to manage our household finances a lot better, and we were able to purchase our first home this January in the city of McAllen. So it really helped us out a lot. It helped us with pretty much everything, honestly. We went from kind of paycheck to paycheck to managing our money a lot better and focusing on our kids and everything else. And it helped me out with the stress of school, because I wasn't very good at managing my time in school and my kids, and I was able to get a lot of help with that, with childcare, for my summer classes, because they were not in school. So I did benefit from that a lot.
Thank you.
We can just ask you to kind of tie it all together now. It's been 3 minutes.
Okay, so we hope that with your continued investment, we can continue to helping more low-income residents from the city of McAllen. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Just the 100,000 increase from the previous year is fairly significant. Probably the largest increase we got from in any agency that got money last year. I see what y'all do, but the 100,000, what's planned for that, or is it just costing that much more per student?
So with the additional investment, we're hoping to serve an additional 20 students. Last year, our benchmark was to serve 100 with the 500 grand. So with the additional 100,000, we would be able to serve at the minimum 20 more students. So on average, it does cost anywhere between $5,000 to $6,000 annually per participant.
And y'all have the operational capacity to take on another 20 with the funding?
Yes, we do. We've actually been very fortunate to have a lot of financial growth and expansion even within our team. Our budget just alone from the last, I would say, 4 years has nearly doubled. So from a $1.9 million operating budget, we're now close to $4 million.
Primarily because of the federal grant, the federal.
The
funds that you
federal,
get?
but also in addition to that, we have received additional state level grants as well.
How do you get referrals over to your agency?
So it's a combination. We have right now we're live on the Unitas platform, so we've received referrals there from different agencies like El Milagro Clinic. In addition to that, we do a lot of community events, job fairs. We're actively involved with different employer fairs like South Texas Health System, DHR. We're also very active with the local colleges. So on campus, we actually have satellite offices, and there we're able to spread the word about our services to future and current students.
Do you have a wait list?
Yes, we do.
Do you know roughly how long that wait list is?
Just from the city of McAllen?
Yes.
I would say right now maybe anywhere from.
I would say around 150 to 200.
Wow.
And how long does it take to get through with some of them? I mean, it's going to take a while for that the one that just came on. How long is it going to take for them to get serviced?
So the list that she's referring to is, of course, like the limit in terms of funding.
Okay.
Right. So like I mentioned, the 500 grand from last year, we were able to support a little over the benchmark. So we supported 110. But, with not additional support or leverage funding, then there's no way we can reach 200 or 300, 400 students within 1 year.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, I'm not too as familiar with VITA. So they come to you asking for assistance for these individual items so that they can get through school with support, for the family and all that. And it's for 4 years? It just depends on the individual, what they're striving to do?
Right. So it depends on what their interest is, what career pathway that they're seeking. Typically, the majority of our population obtains either a 1-year college certificate or a 2-year associate degree from the college. We do have a few of the bachelor degree level programs, but not very many.
And you do this valley-wide?
Correct. Across the 4 counties.
Okay. And how much of your help is to McAllen?
So last year, we served a total of 627 students, and that was valley-wide. Of those, 110 were from McAllen alone.
And do you said counseling earlier, so you try to assist these individuals in maybe not needing VITA the second year, possibly things like that? Is that what the counseling's for?
The counseling is actually to maintain them encouraged so that they don't drop out, they don't fail, and they actually graduate on time. So on average, our retention rates are 95 and above year to year, whereas if you compare the retention rates from the local college, they're in the 50s. So it makes a big difference to have that accountability with the one-on-one between the student and the counselor.
Is there like a GPA requirement or just that they stay in school?
No, there's no GPA requirement as long as they can pass satisfactorily.
Okay. And you work with primarily SDC, UTRGV, or what?
With all the training providers, we've worked with UTRGV, STC, TSTC, and Texas Southmost College in Brownsville.
And do those organizations help you out as far as tuition amounts or anything, assistance that way?
So as of right now, the only one that does help us in that aspect is South Texas College. So South Texas College does see the value in our case management, and they actually have a fee-for-service contract with us.
Other questions?
Any other questions? If not, thank you all very much for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. The next two presentations are actually South Texas College. The first one is on their Healthcare Professionals Enhancement Program, and the second one is on their Center for Advanced Training and Apprenticeship at South Texas College. So they are asking for $500,000 for one, well, actually for both programs, $500,000. Over here. Welcome. Okay, I believe you all have two programs to present to us tonight. So we will give you 3 minutes per presentation. So if you, the first one on here is the.
Presenting both or just one?
Just one?
Okay,
Okay,
go ahead.
so you're the healthcare professionals? then?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and give you 3 minutes for your presentation, and they'll have questions after.
Okay, so hello, everybody. My name's Annette Wingard. I am the program chair of the Bachelor's in Nursing program at South Texas College. Beside me is Dr. Vargas Ayala, the program chair of the Vocational Nursing Department at South Texas College. We have increased the nursing workforce by having a pathway between patient care technician program that we have to the licensed vocational nursing program that we have. And then from there, we have a transition to an RN program, and then we have an RN to the Bachelor's in Science program. So those are our pathways for our students. The Bachelor's in Nursing program also increased enrollment. We're accepting twice a year now instead of just once a year, again, to help increase the nursing workforce. So on October 10th, 2023, 22 McAllen faculty received stipends, and 35 McAllen students received some money. And April 10th, 2024, 23 faculty received stipends, and 40 students, McAllen students, received some money. So our licensed vocational nursing pass rate for passing state boards for the very first time is 93%. And our CNA, our certified nursing assistant pass rate is 100%. Our phlebotomy pass rate is 100%. Our EKG pass rates for students is 100%. Our patient care technician students, when they graduate, they have a 97% job placement rate. And the licensed vocational nursing department has a 95% job placement rate. So we're just, in behalf of South Texas College and Nursing Allied Health, we're just sincerely appreciate you all helping us try to increase the nursing workforce.
And I know they're only presenting this one, Michelle, but both of these were presented separately last year, funded both. Is this separate from the one we did at City Commission that I think was for instructors?
I think this is the program that we did, yes.
This was the one that was added on.
This is the one that came
At
in
the
like
end of-
mid-year, right?
right at the end of
So it's
budget.
rolled into here.
It's, I believe
Yes.
it's this presentation.
Okay.
And then the other one is the additional funding.
So it's not these two plus that one?
No.
That came to us kind of separate during the year? Okay.
So the stipend for the instructors.
Instructors, yes.
Yes, and that's what, you know, we we were funding with the $500,000, but there's some students that get some of that money too.
Yes, all McAllen students, all McAllen faculty.
And what do they get? What type of stipend do they get?
The faculty, they received $8,500, which is a very big help. The students this year, I can't remember exactly, but I think the students got about $700 each this past April.
To go to what?
It's credit to their tuition account.
Their tuition.
Yes, and then it's credit to their account from there.
Okay.
So, good. So obviously, we have a major healthcare professional nursing shortage in the Rio Grande Valley, right? Probably 1,500, I don't even know, 600, 800. And from what I recall, when the program came, it was because it was the matter of capacity to be able to teach people so we could basically put more into the workforce, right?
Yes.
So over the last year, this was the first year that we funded this program. How many instructors did we actually add? Because I remember that's what we were trying to incentivize.
Exactly.
Was to get more instructors so that obviously the student pool could get larger and we'd start filling in that need faster.
Yes, the Texas Board of Nursing limits, for one nursing instructor, they
That's right.
limit 10 students per one nursing instructor, so the more nursing instructors we can get, the more students we can accept. And pay is always the biggest factor when we're trying to hire nurses. So, these are the three programs: the patient care technician, LVN, and the BSN program. So 22 faculty and 23 faculty this semester, but we have another program, the associate's degree RN program, and they graduate over 300 RNs. So that program is much bigger than these programs, but these programs are growing and feeding into that one, and then when they graduate there, then they come back to us again.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, did this work to increase the output, or did we just provide stipends to existing staff?
So the vocational nursing program was able to add 2 more faculty to our current faculty list. I don't know about associate degree.
Yes, in the BSM program, I was able to add 1 more faculty to that. So little by little, we are trying. Also, another factor that we have are qualified faculty for the BSM program. They need to be doctorate prepared nurses, and there's less than 1% in the Rio Grande City in the United States, but they are out there, so it's that's also another factor. But we do have applicants, so they're interested, and there are people out there, but it just seems like pay is always the biggest factor.
And what is the average pay for an instructor?
So the average pay for a master's degree instructor in the RN program is about 70,000, about 75,000. Master degree nurses can work at hospitals and be in charge of their education programs in the hospitals, and they get paid over 100, 105, 110. So,
What would happen if we reduced or eliminated this grant? What would be the result of that?
I think what I notice, I'm just speaking from my opinion, because we're trying so hard to accept as many students as we can, a lot of our nurses, our faculty, if you look at our workload, we're all overloaded. In other words, a lot of faculty are teaching more courses than are required because they want to, they enjoy the extra money. But I see they're getting burned out as well. So when all of a sudden faculty hear that we're getting a little stipend that semester, you could tell it motivates them to stay, and to continue teaching because everybody pretty much is overloaded. We're all
That's what I
teaching
was gonna
extra.
add. Incentivizes them to stay. We've been able to retain the faculty. The jobs out, in the community pay much more than teaching. That just goes across the board.
Yeah,
So-
the amount of slots that are available now is much greater than what it was in years past. So how many slots are available now?
Positions for faculty?
No, I'm talking about that can enroll to go from a LVN to an RN or a CNA to an LVN to an RA. How many more spots? Because that was the big problem, BETA students, trying to get and others. There wasn't enough spots.
Right.
Yes,
For
for them to get
vocational
in.
nursing, we've
Slots.
been able to increase to 200,
Okay.
200 students
Uh-huh.
in a calendar year.
You've been able to increase?
Increase from 160 to 200
Okay.
in a calendar year for vocational nursing.
Last I heard, we budget and had 14 openings for faculty. So we have 14 openings that we can't fulfill. And again, the more faculty we have, the more students, so the students that are getting turned away, it's just because then we look at the schedule that semester, and if a faculty decides to leave that semester last minute, and some of them do, that's 10 less students we couldn't accept that semester. And we accept every semester, so every semester we're hiring adjunct faculty, part-time, trying to increase the number of students that we could have.
So did you lose faculty?
We haven't lost a lot of faculty lately. From what I could recall, we had 2 faculty that just kind of left last minute. This semester kind of put us in a bind. Again, that's when the other faculty step up and they teach extra and they teach overload and they try to make up for that. The faculty, it used to be okay to make less money because you only work Monday through Friday. But now faculty are doing clinicals in the evenings, and they're also doing clinicals on Saturdays. So now some faculty are working 6 days a week. When you do clinicals, you're working 12-hour shifts. So now they're working just like, the clinical nurse, but making less. So now they're contemplating, wow, we never had to work this hard before. It was always a nicer schedule before. But since we're all wanting, to produce more nurses, the opportunities are out there for them to work more, and they do, but eventually they start to get tired. So we could tell with the incentives, that helps them, that helps them.
And what the Monday through Friday is around the 76, 75 you mentioned, but if they work clinicals, it's more on top?
The clinicals are Monday through Friday as well, but if they're overloaded and we have extra classes, then we're doing an extra course in the evenings and like an extra course on a Saturday.
With no added pay?
Yes. So when faculty have to teach extra courses than is required, right now to be full-time, you have to teach 15, credit hours. So if they teach more than that, they do get compensated for the extra work.
So how do you determine the stipend for them?
The Dean of Nursing and Allied Health, Dr. Jason Valerio, I believe him and the administration determine that, so I don't know how they determine that.
Same thing for the student, there's a criteria how they determine that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
The criteria for the student is based on workforce, meeting certain workforce guidelines.
Certain what?
Workforce guidelines.
But don't they have to have a certain GPA in order to get to?
Yes, they look at that's correct. They look
Yes.
at their GPA and
Yeah,
other
it's
items.
pretty stringent.
And I'm sure it's after financial aid has been,
Yes.
After they get financial aid, if there's anything else.
Back to the original question that was asked. Last year we were asked to fund this because of the shortage, right, in nursing, in nurses. So residents of McAllen would be impacted, right, theoretically, by there not being enough nurses, right? How can we know what that shortage is, being that if we go to the doctor today or if we go to the hospital today, we're going to get serviced by a nurse, by a doctor, and there doesn't seem to be a shortage. But can you describe that in, yeah.
There's definitely, statistics. I know, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know Workforce Commission, they talked about the need. The need of the hospital it was almost like over 60%, but we weren't producing that many nurses. And we've always had a shortage of nurses. It just seems like it's getting worse and worse. Apparently after the pandemic, most of our nurses are older. They're retiring and they're getting burned out. So it just seems like the need is there. I know what you mean when you go to hospitals. It seems like there's plenty of nurses and, everything looks okay. But if you speak to the nurses, they're working double shifts, and triple shifts. And sometimes they work at 2 hospitals, not just one. They go to one and then they go to the other. And we meet with the advisory board, which are the chief nursing officers at the hospital, and they're just, always needing, not only nurses, but patient care technicians seem to be very important as well. They're the first line that take care of the, patients and bathe them and feed them, and they just seem, so desperate about that, so.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I think
what's actually happening.
I'm going to say it is.
Because we don't see what's behind.
You don't see it, but I think they move the nurses around at the hospitals to maintain the level of operation that they need to. But what you don't see is sometimes they have to close down rooms or sections of the hospital or postpone surgeries because they don't have enough nurses to cover. So you have to schedule surgeries around the nurse load. But she's right. They're all working double to make up the shortage. Because I know just from DHR alone, I know they're short upwards of 200 nurses just for that hospital.
And I believe DHR in the past would not hire LVNs. They only wanted RNs, and now they're hiring a lot of LVNs. I believe they hired about 77 of our LVNs a couple years ago because, they couldn't fulfill the RN need. So
that's a good point.
But there's a path of growth. So the LVNs to go to RNs and the CNAs to go to LVNs and other technicians, and that's why some of these programs are good because they're proven that they know that they're wanting to stay in the health profession. So if they're CNAs and you want to get, and they're earning $15, $18 an hour, which it used to be $12, $13 an hour, but can get to an LVN, and they know, so they really will concentrate and study and pass because there's all kinds of accreditations that they need to get in order to go up to the LVN, but that LVN will get them $30 an hour, see? So, and then from the LVN we'll go to an RN, and it goes on. And that's why the program that you saw earlier, that's what they do. So it was kind of not explained as well, but that's what they do, and they do that. But I think our big question, or my big question on this is, I really would want to see more explanation of the $500,000 that is being put, and how much of that $500,000 is for stipends or for the what do you call it, the teachers or the instructors, okay? Because we are giving $500,000 for other programs to STC, and that one was asked for last year. And I think we kind of committed ourselves to say, hey, we're going to do this for a few years while you get it going.
Well, it's definitely to some extent a pilot program.
Yeah.
And I'm sure city management can get it, but I do recall it was supposed to be some kind of tight reporting revolving around the way the funds were dispersed to when it was needed, right?
Yeah,
So
there is, Commissioner, and one of the reasons I got up, walked around here was because I wanted to have some answers to one of the questions that you asked. And right now, on the allocation from last year, my understanding is the request hasn't come in. That contract did allow for financing some equipment to start the program up.
Yeah.
In addition to paying for some of the faculty positions and providing some of the stipends. Stipends, my understanding are given out in April, and so we should see billing in May, and we'll have more information that we can provide this board before the final budget requests go in.
And we want to do this, we just want to make sure that,
Yeah, it's just the first year, I think,
Yeah.
so we're trying to,
Yeah, but
we're
the-
trying to assess how it lands.
But the first round of billing to the budget will be coming in the next, I'd say, 6 weeks.
okay.
Since we understand there's such a need of nurses, when they graduate from your program, what's the percentage staying here?
A lot of them do. I mean, I don't have that percentage for you, but they mostly do. Since the Bachelor's in Nursing program, they're already RNs, so they are, and it's an online program, so they're working. And those are my students that I see, and I mean, 99% of them are working right here. They're working here in the hospitals, now wanting to pursue their Bachelor's in Nursing degree. And it's like Mr. Aguirre said, we have these pathways where they could be a patient care technician and then 11 months later become an LVN, but in that time, they're working as a patient care technician still. They don't quit and go to school. You know, they're working, and then 11 months later, they get their LVN license, and then they're working as an LVN, pursuing that RN license. So these are working students. They never stop working. They're working the entire time that they're going to school. This is just steps for them to continue their education and their degrees and move up at work.
And Mark, to your question, the contract from last budget year did require that the money go to support the programs in McAllen. So they are geared towards the McAllen campuses.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
You do.
Okay, the next program is the one that funds a lot of the on-the-job training type programs for MEDC. When they bring in an entity that needs, say, die and tool manufacturing students, this is the group that helps them to get trained for those jobs here in McAllen. And the funding last year was $450,000. They are requesting $500,000 this year. Welcome, Mr. Margo. You'll have 3 minutes to do your presentation, and then they may have some questions for you after.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Carlos Margo. I'm the Dean for the Center for Advanced Training and Apprenticeships at South Texas College. And on behalf of South Texas College, I want to say thank you to the board for the support through the years. We've trained thousands of individuals with this grant project. And I'm going to turn it over. This is Leonel Garcia, who is the director for the Center for Advanced Training. And he's going to give a little bit more details regarding our proposed project, and then it will be available for questions. Thank you.
Dear members of the Development Corporation of McAllen, in the dynamic landscape of today's economy, workforce development stands as a cornerstone of sustained growth and prosperity. As we gather here today, I ask you to recognize the paramount importance of the tremendous need for continuous investment in our workforce and why our proposed project for FY 24-25 is essential for the future of success of McAllen. At the Center for Advanced Training and Apprenticeships, CADA for short, at South Texas College, we don't just advocate for workforce development, we create pathways to opportunity. Throughout CADA's tenure, we've empowered over 57,000 individuals with specialized skills and partnered with over 60-plus employers. Over the past 5 years alone, we've served about 14,000 incumbent workers and new hires. This track record demonstrates our steadfast dedication to empowering individuals and fostering economic growth. Why does workforce development matter, you may ask? The answer lies in a triple effect. A skilled workforce attracts new businesses, fuels innovation, and ensures our city remains competitive in the global arena. Yet in the face of rapid technological advancements and shifting market demands, the need for continuous training has never been more urgent. Our proposed project for FY 24-25 is our response to this call for action. We aim to provide customized training to at least 750 incumbent workers across various industries, ensuring they possess the skills and certifications necessary to thrive in their careers. By tailoring these programs to the specific needs of McAllen employers, we are not just investing in our individuals, but we are investing in the future prosperity of our city. Moreover, it is important to note that CADA is a self-sustaining department within South Texas College, fiscally and programmatically responsible for its administration, management, and operations. This ensures that our initiatives are carried out efficiently and effectively with a focus on maximizing impact and delivering value to our community. Hence, we stand before you today requesting $500,000 to support our endeavors. This funding, based on current and upcoming needs, will enable us to continue delivering high-impact training programs that meet the evolving demands of our workforce economy. In conclusion, the importance of continuous workforce development cannot be overstated. By supporting our proposed project, you are not just investing in training programs, you are investing in the resilience and vitality of McAllen. Together, let us seize this opportunity to shape a brighter future for generations to come. Thank you.
Oh, you must have timed that.
Any questions?
How did you come up with the amount requested?
The amount requested, we always get in contact with a lot of the employers who we typically train and others who haven't had the opportunity or are looking into being trained a lot more. So we take an idea of the courses that they want to take. How is it that it's going to help the employer, as far as their future needs, their production needs. And so based on that demand, based on the average number of course hours and how many students, we come up to that conclusion.
So it's a needs assessment based on their workforce training requirements, plus whatever ancillary support would go into that, personnel, et cetera. So that's where that comes from.
You can easily use the amount requested and be able to train that many future employees, right?
750, yes, that's that's what that amount would allow to train. Now, year over year, we tend to be a little bit more efficient and are able to use the same amount of funding for additional trainees as in the contract.
Okay.
So we're able to utilize the funds to actually train more per year.
Give me an example of a new company, wanting to come into this area and needing certain needs or for their certain skills, for their employees to have certain skills. Give me an example of what one that you did and how many and what you did for it.
Well, back in my day, I know Grand Rapids Phone Technology, for example. They're in McAllen. They came to serve as to be a supplier for Reynosa Maquila. So when they first moved down here, they really tapped into this fund because they were relocating. They had a tremendous amount of expenses, a lot of capital requirements that also was required of them at the time. Essentially being a new startup, this really helps them with the training of individuals that are not step foot in their plant. We give them the basics of safety so that they don't hurt themselves the first time they walk into the floor. We give them certifications such as a certified production technician, so that they are not only safe, but they're also able to work with equipment. And that's what, if I recall, that's just one of many, Grand Rapids Foam Technology. They started off small. We had a pre-hire agreement where we trained individuals before they got into the floor. When they got into the floor and they were actually hired, we continued with the training. So some of these trainings that are actually in this contract, students really take advantage of that, and employers. And that's one example. We really ramped up their workforce by providing them from the very basic skills training of involved in safety, but also more advanced skills in process technician and other areas. So that's one example. I don't even need more, but that's.
Do you do anything for the logistics industry?
Yes.
Okay.
Warehousing, logistics, transportation. I mean, and as long as they're within the city of McAllen and supporting the jobs here in the city, then yes, we will provide the training and try to focus on innovative training. We try to use this money to help develop new programs as much as possible, but definitely something that's already in existence, such as these logistics companies, warehouse, distribution, et cetera, they're all included as well.
Okay. Any other questions?
So this funding, It benefits the company from not having to pay, or it's benefiting the student from not having to pay for this additional training? Clear me
It's
up.
both, yes.
It's both.
It's both because the students, well, start with the employer. Employers that may not have the funding to be able to provide this training or pay for the training are the beneficiaries as well. So in addition to training that they may not be able to do, they receive this training because it's additional training that they, even if they could do it, they, for whatever reason, don't have the budget or are not allowed. A lot of these companies report to other corporate companies outside of this area and have a very streamlined budget when it comes to training. And not only is it the new companies, but it's existing companies that take advantage of this as well. And a lot of this is for new and innovative programs that we do. It's not the usual mundane OSHA 10 and forklift training. We try to make sure that they're getting certifications or credentials out of this training as well. And at the same time, of course, the student doesn't have to pay for the training as well. So he or she benefits as well.
So I think previously mentioned, you kind of partner with MEDC in this proposal for a company to come in that CATA can offer this.
Primarily, that's what we do. We work with MEDC a lot, working with prospective companies. We meet with prospects. We demonstrate this availability of funds before they even have committed as an employer to McAllen, and let them know that, you know, should you move to McAllen, you're able to take advantage of this type of funding while you're still working on developing as a company. You'll at least not have to worry about paying for training at the beginning. So that's a very strong incentive a lot of times when talking to these employers.
And what's the major subject, as I would say, or is it engineering? Is it?
Industrial maintenance seems to be one of the bigger ones. You know, equipment maintenance is huge. Safety as well, but also, and safety, I say that because there's certifications such as OSHA 10, OSHA 30, but also
Robotics
manufacturing, robotics, automation, CNC, which is advanced machining, tooling, welding, perhaps.
Welding is another one.
You've been able to provide these studies. You have staff to do that, or do you have to go and get faculty in order to train that certain?
We have a couple of staff on board who are certified trainers. We have two who can do the robotics and automation, all of that. We do it all within our department. Anything outside of that, if we need to hire from our greater South Texas faculty area, then we'll do that. So we've hired welding instructors that teach for the academic associate's degree program. But we're separate. We're a completely independent department, continuing education and workforce training. We're self-funded. We don't receive any funding from the college directly. So funds like this come in to really help us, but we use those funds to hire outside subject matter experts to help us with the training as well. And a lot of our trainers are out from in industry as well, and that's what I prefer, to have these subject matter experts, experienced individuals who can teach the subject matter and be able to handle a class. That a lot of these trainings are really, really advanced courses. We want to make sure we have high levels of standards for our instructors as well.
What's the vetting process on the applicants? Is it the employer just sends you, I want you to train these 10, or do they go through some type of application with you to make sure you want to bring them into the courses?
Go ahead.
It's usually our communication with the employer, mostly with their HR personnel or their plant manager or operations manager. So we'll sit with them on the table first. They're the ones who identify the individuals that need to get trained. Depending on the type of class, if it's a class that has certain levels, we'll provide them with a test, a pre-test, to see what levels they fall in, so they're not all scattered. And then we'll make sure to apply the correct course that best applies, if it's a leveled course. Other than that, they'll identify what is it that they're looking for. We'll provide a needs assessment. We'll also bring in our experts to identify the trainings that maybe they don't quite see yet and that we recommend that they take. So we do a lot of that customized training.
It's not a formal application process. A lot of this is just word of mouth, but a lot of this is also referrals from MEDC. That's the majority of who we train. They will advise us on who needs training, even if they're existing companies. So we also work with them on their VRE visits, their business retention and expansion. So if a business, and so a lot of this does come from MEDC. But yeah, to answer your question, no formal application process.
So is the emphasis on the funding allocating to companies that are being recruited, and also that we're trying to maintain here, or how do you allocate the resources?
But I think, Commissioner, you hit the top two right there. A lot of this has to do with, first and foremost, we work with MEDC on the new companies.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of that. And then second, if there's an existing company that needs support and for whatever reason cannot afford training, then that's another eligible applicant right there. But again, a lot of this communication comes from MEDC. We work together closely with them. But we also have close connections with a lot of these industry representatives. Leonel mentioned HR directors. Of course, there's a lot of turnover, but we still maintain that direct contact. We work with South Texas Manufacturers Association as well, too, to see what we can glean from him, or that organization, rather. Mike Willis being him, the executive director. So it's really a lot of knocking on doors as well.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Start to finish, your percentage of individuals that complete from start to finish, do you have that?
So our completion rate is at 95%. Our student satisfaction level is at 97%. And our employer satisfaction level is at 98%. And that's based on the evaluations that we provide towards the end of every class.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next agency is the Boys and Girls Club of McAllen. They have increased their request this year by $36,161 to be $425,800. And Mr. Voss will be abstaining from this particular item.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Long time.
That's right.
Michelle? Michelle? Do we normally schedule another meeting to make decisions on this?
We generally would probably make a decision tonight, kind of go through them and deliberate while it's still fresh in our minds, and then we will vote on it later,
Got it.
in case there's any follow-up questions that you need information on as well.
Good.
Yeah, well, there's some information we're going to need to bring back based on. Hey, Delinda, how are you? Thank you very much.
Okay, Delinda, you'll have 3 minutes to give your presentation, and then they may have questions following.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you so much, good evening. So first of all, thank you so much for funding our over 18,000 kids and teens this last year through DCMI. What you have in front of you is just a visual image and a snapshot of the services that you guys help us provide, that the city invests in every year with our kids and teens. So last year we had a very substantial uptick of club members, mainly through our Elevate Athletics program. And so we actually saw about a 2,200 member spike from one year to the next. And so we reported last year a little over 6,000 club members and registered club members, which essentially means active members participating in all of our programs. We clocked in 8,849. Our community outreach includes some of those smaller programs, workforce development programs, mental health programs that are less than 26 weeks. So that's where you have your community outreach. We also, of course, partner oftentimes with the city, with the district to provide services, microservices at our sites. So that's why you'll have the community outreach number of 9,400. For a total you served last year at 18,249. We had about 117,000 meals that were served, and that's in partnership with McAllen ISD. So we do want to thank DCMI and the City of McAllen for that investment. Specifically to what DCMI helps us serve our kids, that's namely in our school sites. So those are all 5 of the middle schools. You guys actually helped us expand over into Mid and North McAllen in 2020, 2021, where we're now at all of the middle schools. And of course, we know just from being people, also having children, but the data continues to show that, of course, after COVID, services are really needed in those middle grades. And so we made sure to go ahead and expand our services all throughout McAllen. You all helped us do that. So in the back of that, you'll see where it says 6 MISD campus sites. Those are our DCMI sites. So that's where these dollars come in. We are at 2 of the neediest areas, which include Seguin Elementary as well as Roosevelt Elementary School. Now, for those of you who are new to our model, just so you know, if we're not on a campus, we're busing in to the Roney and Brand Center, and they get bused in for free. So any site, as well as IDEA campuses. So we do also serve South Texas ISD that gets bused in, as well as IDEA, but we namely partner with McAllen ISD. One of the areas when you see an uptick in the dollars that we requested, it's really, like everyone else knows, you'll see a big uptick with the request for supplies. So it comes in with fringe benefits as well as the supplies that have honestly come in about 3 times more expensive. So even if we serve the same amount of club members, it's going to be about 3 times the amount to be able to serve them at the level that we want to. You'll also notice an uptick in our professional development. So right now we're just very focused on quality and quality improvement. So those are the 3 big areas. Any questions?
No, so the increase, I mean, you spoke about the increase, right? That was the only question I was going to ask. And you're primarily saying it's really just to cover cost for the same level of service?
No, so the increase, what we did is we've actually increased the ratio of kids that we're able to serve safely at least. And so that's actually because we have 2 officers that are now on site for the clubhouses. And then because we're doing more professional development on the 6 campuses, we feel comfortable serving more kids per youth development professional. So we're able to serve a little bit more kids per adult, basically.
And you have the capacity to do that?
We do. We have the capacity to do it. We feel like we can safely do that. We try to run like a ratio of about 30-1. Really, our focus is making sure that our youth development professionals are really trained to be able to do that. Now, one of the things that's different on the McAllen ISD sites that DCMI helps us is we actually have a part-time professional social worker. That doesn't come out of this fund because, of course, we try to leverage dollars outside of the city. And so that part-time professional social worker that is new this last year, she helps a lot with safety. She helps a lot with those numbers. Even though we have a higher ratio, she's on a lot of the campuses all week. Any other questions?
Well, we're growing. You guys are trying to keep up with our growth, and it's fantastic. I hate to say you guys because no such thing as us. So, but it's just a little more increase.
The Boys and Girls Club has steadily gone up over the last 3 years, significantly too.
Significantly.
And I know 1 year we even allowed a rollover to stay plus the increase.
Yes.
And it's good. The services and everything's been expanding like crazy. But it has, in the last 3 years,
yes,
it's gone up a lot.
For the DCMI site, correct.
Yes.
Now, I just did, and if it's okay, just to kind of entertain this, because I've been looking at all of our funding streams. When we look at general fund in particular, what we've seen is we've increased substantially not only the services, increased with departments as well as membership, but we've stayed very steady with those funding dollars. And so from 2016 all the way into currently, we've actually served, I would say, a little over 9,000 extra kids from 2016 to now, which is when I've been clocking in the data. We've stayed very steady with general fund dollars. With DCMI, we did have that uptick, and we were thankful because actually the community was asking us to expand. So prior to the expansion, we were not at Fossum Middle School, and we were not at Morris Middle School and at Cathy Middle School. But to be honest, Mid and North McAllen residents were really asking why we were not providing the services over in that area, because like about 3 years ago when you saw the significant uptick, that was when we were still just at the other middle schools in Mid and South McAllen. So it was really a concept of equity across the board with services, yes.
And then keeping them active after school is really important.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I live in District 1, and I was surprised when, at the time, Mr. McClenny from Morris Middle School, he came up to us, approached the board. At the time, Mayor Villalobos was Commissioner Villalobos. He sat both of us and said, we have about 1,200 kids here at Morris Middle School, and about half of those are actually coded as O1s. So those are your low socioeconomic status and your at-risk population. 638. I'll never forget that number. And he said, we have 638 kids that, at least statistically speaking, need the type of services that Boys and Girls Club offer, and we don't get to offer those 638 kids our services. So I think that was a big flag. So then I said, you know what, we're functioning like out of stereotype. We're saying District 1, which included Fossum, and then with Commissioner Cabeza de Vaca's district with Cathy Middle School, we actually looked at those percentages and realized that we were making blanket decisions when that wasn't the truth with the demographic. And so the uptick was to help us serve that area.
Since you brought up Elevate, and it has to do with middle school, how long has Elevate been around, and what's the total population?
So Elevate has been around since 2016, and again, it started at just the middle schools, and now we have it in the 5th grade as well. But within the last 2 years, we've expanded again because the community's like, why are you doing Elevate Developmental with just volleyball and basketball and flag football? Why are we not doing softball and baseball? Everyone knows the city of McAllen has always had the biggest baseball program. And so we didn't really have a response to that. And again, city of McAllen with general fund and DCMI allowed us to be able to expand into baseball and softball. This last year, I believe we were about 1,900 kids that were participating in our Elevate program alone. The cool thing about Elevate is that that's an equity model within our traditional sports setting. So we actually go out to raise $80,000 with corporations that decide to invest in Elevate, and so it helps us to offset 50% of the fees that are associated with playing in our sports program.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and again, I think we pointed out, but for everyone to know, this is just one of the funding that the city does. The 425, if that is deemed to be the number this year, but we also have the 600 and some odd dollars, 250,000 on the other program of the city.
Yes, sir.
So, we're currently funding around $1.1 million worth to Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, sir.
And if you put apples to apples, at McAllen Economic Development, we're funding around 1.1 million. So, but, I think it's good to point out that the investments and our citizens' monies are being put both on the creating economic development, but also in programs that are helping our residents, just elevate themselves.
For sure.
Literally.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've again, one of the programs that we did 2 years ago that we started in partnership with UTRGV is our business entrepreneurship program. So we realized too, early on, especially again, when we talk about at-risk populations, really planting the seed of an entrepreneurial spirit, making sure we really want, the mission is cliche, but it's true. We want productive citizens. And for me personally, I want self-sustaining citizens. I want citizens that early on, we develop them for the workforce. We develop them to be college and career going so that they're not necessarily having to depend on services. I want them to be happy. I want them to be healthy and to be productive and self-sustaining. Correct. And so all of the decisions that we make at Boys and Girls Club are definitely aligned to research having to do with youth development, right? So we're not flailing our arms. It's like a to and through a productive citizen.
And the last thing I want to point out is that their budget is over $4 million. So that means that you all are doing a lot of fundraising.
Yes, sir.
A tremendous amount of of monies coming from other grants and other, and, you know, not from this area, but you're searching outside the area to bring in monies to this area. So, you know, you've got, you know, close to $3 million that you're either getting it by your fundraising activities here locally, which your board is excellent and large, and the parents, and then of course there are some fees, but they're done on a minimal, and then you look for monies outside the area.
Well, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because I know about 4 years ago, the commission did continue to, again, sow that seed about being, you know, self-sustaining or self-sufficient, and try to continue to grow that. And so I didn't take that lightly. When I first started again in 2016, I think our operating budget was like $2.8 million. Again, receiving the same amount of general fund dollars that we have from 2016 to now. We've actually grown our budget, so we adopted about a $4.2 million budget. You know, we're just getting started. Like I tell everyone every single day, like today we're just getting started and tomorrow will be the same. We have a lot of needs that we meet, but I am very proud that this is, of course, City of McAllen dollars, our biggest funding pool, but ultimately we do leverage other dollars to bring in. So, yes, sir.
That's a very good point. There's another property that you've recently acquired, and can you give us kind of what the plans are for that, and you know how many you think you're going to serve, and if there's going to be a future need that you'll have to find either through the city or through somewhere else for the funding of that operating expenses.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So it's been about a year now that we've been trying to close on the bottom property. And so, again, very mission focused. When you look at the bottom property off of Jordan Street, that's actually an area of very high need. So when the census came out, they clocked those families between $20,000 and $27,000. That was the median income. And so when you talk about the kids that need us the most and the teens that need our resources the most, that Jordan area is actually like very high need. So that's 13 acres. Currently, there's about 34,000 square feet that's on that property. It is, I like to say, but also because I'm optimistic, that about 15,000 of that is move-in ready. In that, the school district actually continues to use it for things like small professional development. And so, you know, we walked it with a donor last week. And so there's an extension that's sort of move-in ready for a microsite. And so the board, you know, all of this is board-led. And so we have a master plan to be able to go in and do like a microsite in the extension that's move-in ready. And so that microsite, hopefully here soon, I'm hoping in August of 2024, if the closing goes well, we'll be able to serve at least 75 kids. What I will tell you, and that's a great point, thanks for asking that question, because the Roosevelt dollars that you see that the ask is here, we're actually going to be diverting those resources to the bottom property. We've actually already talked with a lot of families. It's not displacing them. In fact, Roosevelt's is about less than a mile actually away from the bottom property. So we're looking at, of course, like expanding our dollars, right? So if and when that happens, then we'll actually have to write a letter to the city asking if we could actually use those dollars for Roosevelt and move them over for the microsite. Now, the big plans, of course, is to actually have a traditional clubhouse, you know, Roni and Brand. We serve hundreds of kids there every day. And then the biggest phase, actually, that's very much in line with the Parks and Recreation Survey, what we also find too, because we have a growing need for indoor facilities, is we'd like to actually build at least 4 gyms on that 13 acres of property. So we are right now in kind of the silent phase of a capital campaign and kind of aligning everything else. For those of you here that, which I appreciate, are fiscally conservative, we actually went to the district with a closing of $1 million from about a $2.4 million ask, because we were able to defend some of the services that we provide through goods and services. So again, being super mindful for all of our donors and being like really good stewards. But ultimately, we'd like the Jordan property to be a traditional clubhouse.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.
Okay, and then our last presentation is going to be from a new applicant this year, Christian's Manor. I think Ike is outside conversing with him just real quick. The request is for $125,000. It is for utilities, internet, and social worker salaries. There's some multifamily transitional housing that's provided by this entity. While we're waiting, Angie did give me some information on VITA. Over the last 10 years, we have funded them to the tune of $1.873 million. So it is considerably more than the $550,000.
Yeah.
Over here, Commissioner. Yes, right there.
Both of those
And,
mics are hot.
yeah, and you'll have 3 minutes to give your presentation, and they may have questions for you afterwards. Welcome.
I am, so.
It's exactly 3 minutes, so tell me when to start.
He's starting you now. Go.
Good afternoon. What a blessing it is to be before you all today. City manager, board members, city commissioners, thank you for allowing me to present on behalf of Christians Manor. Christians Manor helps single parents, most of which are mothers, and their children break the cycle of poverty 2 generations at a time by providing support services, resources, and most importantly, housing assistance to those families. We have 16 beautiful apartments in a private gated subdivision on the open market. These apartments would rent for $1,300 a month. However, our single moms, because they're mostly moms, pay 30% of their income for rent with a maximum rent of $500 per month. For example, if a mother makes $300 a month, then we charge her $90. All we ask of the mothers is that they attend college and work on getting an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree in a desired profession that will provide employment as soon as they graduate. We encourage them to be teachers in healthcare, banking, or whatever profession they choose, but that is in high demand. Our moms and families each have their own stories and struggle, but most importantly, resilience. Some of these families have been homeless. These moms are usually divorced or widowed and have little time to make impactful changes to their careers without having to focus on immediate need of shelter, food, their kids' education and well-being, etc. Of the 16 apartment units, 8 units are occupied by families, including 15 children. All single parents are currently enrolled in post-secondary education at our local college or university and obtain mental health services by our contracted social worker. The idea for Christian Manor came up many years ago. So I would drive around town, especially around boys and girls clubs, looking for land. At the same time, I tried everything I could think of to find a way to get the seed money to buy the land and finance the construction, but I couldn't figure it out. So by the grace of God, a developer was developing a fourplex subdivision close to a Boys and Girls Club in San Juan and donated 4 fourplex lots to our organization. These lots, that equity gave us the down payment for a $1.35 million loan that currently costs us $10,000 a month. But those lots and the fact that we hired our own low bid builder, we bid these projects, we got a low bid, and our entity has close to $1 million in equity already. But the loan and the administrative expenses is a hefty amount every year. Currently, we are fundraising over $200,000 a year, which is pretty good in my opinion for a nonprofit that hasn't been around for more than 3 years. But we need your help to help with the admin expenses and if at all possible, capital dollars to build more units in McAllen, our first units in McAllen. We're asking for financial resources to cover an admin position and some of our social workers' salaries. As we grow to filling the 16 units, we'll have the need for more than one social worker. Right now, our social workers doing everything from counseling to coaching to connecting our families to all the resources, including VIDA and Boys and Girls Club that are both here today. But we plan to hire the admin position and CEO in the next 30 to 60 days. We also pay for our family's water and light, so we're asking for $18,000 a year to cover that. Our total request is $125,000 for annual expenses. If possible, if this board would consider capital costs, we are asking for money to build a unit or 4 units in the city of McAllen. Each unit costs around $85,000 or $340,000 for a fourplex. We currently have a site picked out that we plan to purchase and begin construction in the next 6 to 9 months. We will be close to a Boys and Girls Club because we believe that that helps the mother and the children. The clubs provide after-school and summer resources that allow the mothers to work and go to school. The clubs also help the children thrive with dinner, homework assistance, and mentoring. How many times have you seen a homeless person in the streets? We have homeless people coming to us with 1 to 4 kids. And we're providing them a home and an opportunity to get an associate's degree or a degree. We're going to pull these mothers up, and you know the strength of a mom. They will pull their kids up with them. Help us break the cycle of poverty 2 generations at a time. God bless you all.
Well, there's a lot of other good things that you didn't mention. The need, especially single mothers with kids, and one of the things that, in order to go into this program, into those 16 units, this is a brand new program. No words that I can express of your endeavor in this beautiful cause. But the important thing is that it's structured right for the purpose of single mothers with kids that are currently going and attending a higher education school, for them to get out and be self-sufficient, and 6 months to a year after they get out, then they leave because they're able to sustain themselves and give future. So this is not something for somebody else. So this is not something that somebody's going to stay there for 15 years and whatever into housing. This is something to get them out, get them through what life has taken them. You know, it's we see this day in, day out, that it's just so tough for them to sustain their kids, you know, and be able to provide for them and feel good. So it's normally a 1 to 2 year cycle to get them out, because they already have proven that they have been in college and life hit them, you know, and now they're trying to get to the next levels for their kids. So the good thing about the program, there's many good things about the program, though. One is that it is a housing need for a time in their lives for them to get through it, right? And you know, you found that niche that's needed for many. So what you're asking for us here is to start what you know, in McAllen, what you've done already in San Juan.
Correct.
Did you already purchase property?
We have not. I've identified a piece of property. I've talked to, it's actually owned by a nonprofit. I've been talking to them for about a year. It's going to be close to a new Boys and Girls Club. We've just been waiting for the Boys and Girls Club to make the purchase, I guess, to make sure that they're going to be there. If not, we would look for a different site. But when McAllen Boys and Girls Club first identified that property, I started driving around just like I did 5 years ago. And I see this property next door, found out who the owner was, and I've been working with them, and it sounds like they're going to sell it to us. And we're buying it at fair market value. They're a nonprofit too. We understand that.
And it's next to the Milagro Clinic too.
It's right next to Hope.
To Hope, yeah. I mean.
And that one, hopefully it goes through. Everything looks like it would go through. If it wasn't to go through for whatever reason, we'll find another space. But this is going to happen. We're going to make this happen.
Do the units qualify for subsidized type housing from, I guess you have your Department of Labor, but you have Department of Labor as one of your major funding sources?
Right now, it's all private.
Or is it all private?
Yeah, we do qualify, and that's why we have to use the term single parents, even though 99.9% of these people will be single mothers. But because of FHA, we have to classify it as single. So we're working through that because they're very restrictive with their monies. We haven't taken advantage of that yet.
Okay.
All of the money we've been using has come from the fundraisers.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And I know I've talked to you about it before, but just to remind me, it's similar to what Tony said. I mean, it's transitionary to some extent, right? But what do you have in place for, obviously you have social workers, but to monitor, and I mean, would you have triggers where you'd have to tell someone they have to leave? I mean, because you need to fill need, right? But 4-year degree, it could be 4 years. What if you catch them at their freshman year?
Yeah.
And I don't know how you deal with, adults, they're living there 6 months, they get into a relationship, that person moves in, what happens?
So it's two questions. On the second question, that's easy. They can't.
They can't.
If they're in a relationship, they have to move out. We're not providing these units for a couple. It's for single families. With respect to their education, we'll take them as they're starting. If they start and get a 4-year degree, we have thresholds, right? You have to be a full-time student. We ask them to work part-time, but that part-time is 10 hours, just so that they can have a little bit of income coming in. But if we get them as a freshman, we'll take them all the way through. If they want to get their master's, get a doctorate, we'll stay with them just as long as they're moving forward. We have one of our first ladies was finishing up her degree in social work, and we encouraged her to go and get her master's, and she's doing that, and she's actively pursuing that.
So there's no time limit that you have on the unit?
So long as they're moving forward.
Okay.
Kind of like I have a daughter that graduated from college. So long as she's moving forward, I'll cover her expenses, right?
Well, yeah.
If she takes a semester off, then we're going to talk. But we have those policies in place.
So you didn't mirror this off of somebody else's program. You created this whole thing from scratch.
Initially, the housing component, 100% was like, we were going to do this no matter what. But we were able to find a program in Austin, it's called the Jeremiah's program, and that has much more than housing. That's where we realized that just housing wasn't sufficient. Mm-hmm. I was hoping just build the fourplexes, give them a place to stay, kind of give them a little bit of guidance, but it's turned into a lot of mental health, a lot of coaching, a lot of, we've taken, we had one lady that had a payday loan that had ballooned from $2,000 to $5,000. We helped her with that. We've helped one of our mothers does baking on the side, and she was about to get her storage unit foreclosed, I guess, and so we helped her with that. And she does baking on the side, and she did all the desserts for the Boys and Girls Club event that we had. So we put her to work right away. Just little things like that, little emergency funds also, because things happen. I mean, a blown tire can put these people on the street as it doesn't sound like it could or it should or whatever, but that's all it takes.
Yeah, definitely. Great.
So the current 16, Commissioner, and thank you for what you're doing. So you've got 16 apartments right now, all filled up. Is that what you
No, half of them are filled. If we just opened it, we would fill them up immediately. There's a lot of vetting that goes into it. And so right now we have 8 full. We have 2, I think, moving in within the next month. We started the process around October, so we really do a lot of vetting. So one of the things we don't handle are mothers that are being abused. We refer those out, and we guide them through the process of going to Mujeres Unidas. We're just not set up for that type of facility. So a lot of our inquiries are women that are being abused. And so we take everybody else, I guess, and so long as they're going to college.
You would seem you have more people waiting or on a waiting list. Is that just lack of y'all are too new and not many people know, or is it the vetting? I would just think there'd be more need out there and you'd have a list.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of need. It's just we're so new. We're taking our time. We don't want to hurt these people, right? Because they're in a situation that some of us won't understand. And so it's a process. Jeremiah's program, for instance, they have, I think, a 1-month program that the mothers go through before they even become a resident. We're not set up for that. We don't have the resources that they have. They have, 16 employees, and they only have 25 units. We have 16 units and have a part-time social worker. So we're making sure that we're not hurting the families. We're helping them, even though it seems obvious, like just give them a place to stay. We're just taking our time and learning as we go. We've hired Jeremiah's program employees as consultants, and so we're taking our time. We know that the need's out there, and we could fill up thousands of these units.
And the funding, I think it was mentioned, private funding right now, and you said 200,000, but there's a couple of loans, or there's a loan already out there. How did that come
So
about?
to build this fourplexes, we used donated land, and we borrowed the money, and borrowed 1.35 just for the pure construction. That's why I mentioned the equity, having the 4 lots donated, and plus not having to buy them at retail. We have like $800,000 to $900,000 in equity in those fourplexes, but we got to pay the loan, and we got to pay our admin expenses. So we do one fundraiser a year. We're new to applying for grants, and so we're in that process. A lot of grants, people that give grants want more time, right? They don't like new endeavors, and so we're getting out there. We're going. We can afford what we're doing right now. But to be able to grow it and to get more people and to fill up the units faster, we need some help.
I know banks can be pretty tough in their loan approvals, and so how the loan was obtained under Christian's Manor with, I'm assuming, guarantees?
So I went to the bank and I said, you can't get any guarantees because you'll conflict me out if we go out and try to apply for grants or county money or federal money, right? They're going to see my guarantee and they're going to say, oh, we're just trying to get out of your guarantee. So I told the bank specifically, you can't ask us to guarantee. Because a bank, right, they won't do one member, they'll do all board members. And so we don't have a guarantee.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good banking relationship.
It helps. It helps.
Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all very much.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so now you all can kind of go through this. If you have any other questions, any other information you'd like to see, if you have some idea about what you'd like to allocate, you see the totals at the bottom. There is a total increase this year up to $4 million in requests. This comes out of DCMI funds. They are all eligible expenses under the guidelines for our funding.
I have
and if
one
you have any
question.
questions.
Since I'm new here, of the 9 allocated agencies from last year, do we know if they used all their funding?
Right now, I mean, they are in the period of spending, so this is halfway through the fiscal year. So they probably won't have used all of their expenses yet because most of them will bill monthly.
And I don't think that STC on that nursing
They
program
have not billed
will
anything yet.
use the entire $500,000 that was allocated for them.
But a few of these have been multiple years, over
Yes.
3, 4, 5 years.
Yes.
In the historical, of the allocation of the annual allocations, have they typically used all their money?
Most of these have. Affordable Homes of South Texas has, they get multiple sources. They have city funds, they have DCMI, and they have CDBG funds. They are a little behind in their CDBG funding, and right now they have only 61,000 of this current year's funding kind of spoken for, but not actually committed yet. So that's been a little bit on the slow side.
Thank you. I'll follow up Mark's question. no issues. You said they all are abiding by, you know,
The reporting
reporting.
requirements.
You mentioned
yes.
earlier someone had funded something outside the city or something like that, but they've all been abiding by past guidelines.
Yes, yes, and we have our compliance officer here through our grants program who, he will monitor them and inspect their books and look over their financials and get the reporting requirements and give me a heads up if anybody's in trouble, right, Jaime? So, yes.
And I may have asked this before, but was there just 9, or did we have more agencies that did not make it to?
There have been others in the past, but I think like one, I understand, is no longer functioning. Some of them cycle in and cycle out, depending on their funding. Jaime, you have something else on that? Mhm. That's new. Sorry.
That was a one-time allocation.
That's right.
That the board decided to give them for startup.
Mhm.
And since then,
Did not come back.
But don't, I would think a
Typically,
bunch
it's-
of agencies throughout the city would come up and
There-
ask for money, no?
Not typically. There are only certain things that are eligible for funding under
Okay.
DCMI. There are other avenues. They do go through the general fund and through CDBG as well. So we do have quite a few. And some of these get funds from all 3 sources. Some of them will get from 2 sources. And then 11 in the general fund. And then CDBG has other types of funding. CDBG funds definitely have more strings to them, and so often they will come through one of the other 2 arms of the city that funds social services.
I would like to see more agencies, especially small, to, sometimes $5,000 and $10,000 just helps them in administrative cost and supplies and things of that sort,
But over time, I mean, I think you're asking a lot of agencies would come. For the most part, the idea was over time to wean off the agencies off DCMI. That was really the intent. But now I don't say they become dependent on it, but it's become a huge part of a lot of their funding. But I think you could, for a couple of the new members, you could probably sit with city management soon and look at the history of how this came to be. But it's met its obligation years and years
Many
ago.
times over,
And so
yes.
it's sort of been maintained, even though was supposed to have been kind of closed, I guess, right?
Well, there was a vote that was originally taken, and there were a number of agencies or types of services that were promised to them to be provided. And yes, the dollar amounts that were on those ballots have been long since met, but it has become kind of a tradition to continue to fund these. However, if you recall that also construction projects such as drainage, streets, other types of construction projects are also funded out of here. So every dollar that goes to social service is not a dollar that doesn't go to construction. But
Towards
as Commissioner has
development.
mentioned, we've had that conversation about having the small amounts, 5,000 for maybe literacy and things of that nature. And we would also like to see some of those that apply for CDBG funds with those small amounts not go through CDBG because there's so many reporting requirements
Correct.
in that vein that
Correct.
it would be simpler to fund them
That's
out
why I'm
here.
saying, I'd like to maybe possibly bring more of those into this fund, because this is also, the obligation of the half-cent sales tax has a component that meets a lot of those needs.
Yes, all of these are eligible under
Yeah,
the funding
see?
mechanism.
I would just like to help out, especially, and I like startups, because you try something and it could be a church that's doing something. It could be different, organization or people, getting together and a little something to create something big. What the commissioner has done is incredible. What it's done.
Well, let's go down the list, and I think we're going to want to put down our
Your
recommendations here,
recommendations.
right? So let's just do
Yes.
it while it's fresh on our minds here. And so we'll go down. We'll start with Comfort House, number 1. 115 last year. 115 is the request. Do we want to keep it the same?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's put 115,000 on there.
Okay.
And go on to number 2, 4 homes in South Texas. They had requested an
181.
increase, right? 181, we gave them, allocated 147 last year. You
Yeah.
mentioned that they don't, or they haven't historically used them all?
They've been struggling to identify some properties and for new construction, I know that. And then with the rehabs, there's been some, a little bit of slowness on
Yeah.
those particular projects.
Yeah.
Am I okay on that one, Commissioner?
What was that?
Since I'm on a subsidiary.
Oh, that's right, okay.
I'd be okay with it because if they don't do the projects, they don't use it.
Right, it
and
would
they
come
always,
back.
They come for the exact projects that they expect to do, so.
Yeah.
It's not, you know,
So the 181, is that what you were thinking of?
yeah,
Yeah, and if they don't spend it, it doesn't get,
that's right, it doesn't get, they don't get it and it just goes to other G&A or anything. They, has to be for the specific project.
Do they submit a draw?
They do, they submit the actual project.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
It's
they'll
a
have to submit
reimbursement.
the actual construction project or remodel project. And so if they can't find it or can't identify it, it just doesn't get used.
Okay.
So
And on the
the
next
full
one?
amount- The full amount on that one?
Yeah.
181? Okay.
Yeah. El Milagro, 280, 280. We want to keep the same amount?
How often do y'all change them?
These
We can.
entities?
Change them at any
often?
time.
We have.
Is that what you're asking?
After COVID, we got a little tighter, which put all the
Yeah.
agencies a little shaky because they were all used to just kind of getting increased. And since then, I think we've been pretty moderate and agreeable to almost all their requests. Any changes that we've made have been pretty nominal. But this one's not asking for anything different. I would say you give them the same.
So the total budget is what, 20 million from,
Yeah.
so this is, you know,
Yeah.
we're considering 4 million out of 20 million, right?
27.
27.
Yeah,
Well, 27 fund, but yeah.
The annual fund is 20 some?
23, 27.
I think
But-
it was 20.
24 to 27. It's been going
Yeah,
up
okay.
because of sales tax.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
This is a small percent.
I'm fine,
yeah,
280.
small percent. Okay, so then 280 on El Milagro Clinic. Lift fund, we've had discussions about lift fund in the past.
Every year lift fund comes up
There's usually some additional conversation
about
about it.
impact and whether the people would
Yeah.
get the loans anyway but have to pay interest and
Yeah.
what that amount would be anyway on a $12,000 note, right?
With
Lift-
4
lift fund
bankers
is a
here, that's an
difficult
interesting
one.
conversation, right? 5, what am I talking about? Just kidding.
But I think one year we had asked them a lot of questions, right? We got a report of all the businesses they had given loans to, the amounts,
Right.
the repayment. A lot of very small McAllen businesses. I mean, they definitely provide a good service.
But they're using it all, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they use it all.
Do you want that report
Jaime has
again,
something to
Commissioner?
Jaime has something
Y'all
to
might
say.
want to see it, I think.
Did they provide it for
They
this
haven't
past year? or-
provided it, just what was in their application. Jaime, did you have
No,
something
we had
to
asked
offer
for
on
it
that?
after last year.
Yeah, last year we asked for it after the fact.
They only draw on what they make the loan on. So they sometimes if they don't make the other loans,
Then,
they will not draw the full amount.
okay.
So did they draw last year's?
But they gave us a
200,000?
report of their loan pool in McAllen. I remember that.
Yeah. Typically speaking, they do.
We don't fund,
Right. We don't fund anything that isn't already funded, but most years I think they have used it.
I know they've used it all.
There may have been during
Oh, they
during
use it.
COVID, we had some,
yeah,
they didn't use it all.
they had little demand.
Yeah.
Because they got a lot of free,
Yeah. Everybody did.
they were getting free anyway.
So what's the recommendation on this one? Keep it at 200?
Well, I say, keep it, if anything, we could drop that one, but if we could keep it, we could keep it anyway, they don't, it's only gonna be what they use. It's a maximum of 200,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, they use
It's a
it.
way for us to show that we're helping small business,
Yeah.
and it's great for our community.
Yeah, they are the only, or I guess agency that does that specific thing that's funded, so.
Yep,
Yeah,
Look at
that
it
one
that
is a
way.
little different than some of the others.
yep, yep. Okay, next one, MEDC. I know at one point we brought them down by, like 980, I think it was,
Yes,
or?
they had dropped down below $1 million a couple of years ago. The intent was that they would continue to decrease each year and rely more on the industrial foundation arm.
I did ask him that question, and yeah, we got a response. It wasn't as specific potentially, but nonetheless, I think they show that they supported MEDC by about 400,000 from the foreign trade zone. I just don't know how much more they have to support MEDC. I mean, obviously, we're all in favor of MEDC. You know, the economic impact is great, but
Foreign trade zone is very healthy, that's for sure. But we definitely, the city of McAllen is definitely the driving force behind MEDC, not the foreign trade zone. So as long as we fund them, I think it's a better partnership with us actually taking on the bulk of the financing. Their budgets are super tight. I will say they're probably one of the better prepared budgets. I mean, they do a real good job of, I mean, you go through that budget, I don't see anything, you know, it's tough to cut or to minimize it. It's just the cost of running it.
yeah. We want to keep it at 1.1?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
I think they do a good job of sending to us what they need on a minimum basis. I don't think they don't really have any extra added fluff or anything.
Yeah.
So this is a time that you need to
Yeah.
even do more.
They need to support also the
We need to just do more.
acquisition
right.
of the properties to the north, and so.
Okay, 1.1 for them.
Commissioner Guida, you've recused yourself from
From number
6,
six.
right?
Okay, so from everybody else, number 6, Vida. 500,000 last year, requesting 600. We heard the presentation earlier.
I mean, Vida does a phenomenal job, but at some point, does that 600 go to 7 to 8, right? At what point does it stabilize? Made a note that it was the largest increase request of any agency.
Yeah. I think we were at a higher amount before, right? I
Is
think
it ever higher than 500?
I believe so. It was at 700, if I remember.
I think it was 750 at one point.
Yes.
And we did reduce it down.
We reduced it
And then. it
possibly to
started going
400, then we took it up to 500. If I recall correctly, I think that's, so we've been higher than this amount. I know she said we would service 100.
Yes. It would go to 120.
And then go to 120 if we fully funded them. So
Yeah, it's about 5,000 a person, I think.
wait list is 100 and some, I think.
Right.
So great organization too. I mean, they do good work. Any thoughts?
It's a nice
Are-
decision.
Are they funded by all the other cities too?
They do get some funding.
They do get some funding from other cities.
They get funding. We're the second largest. The first one is going to be labor.
And we're the largest.
Labor gives them
city.
3 million.
Oh, that's what that was.
We do about 500. Brownsville does about 500, and then you have a bunch of EDCs, 10,000 to like 65,000. Because the EDCs do see the value in it. I think there's like 6 or 7 of them. Westlaco, maybe Harlingen. I mean, it's all over. So they do get a variety, but we are the number 2 behind the federal government.
You know, there's previous comment or discussion, you know, that, or you've even said, Michelle, that some of these agencies get funds from the city in other
In other
ways.
capacities, yeah.
Have y'all ever been, are we able to be transparent and see what other fundings they have across the city?
There's no other
From the city.
Yeah.
funds
From
from the
Vida,
city.
they
This is
don't.
the only one.
From Vida doesn't get
Okay.
Yeah, Vida doesn't.
From
No, you
general
don't from like
fund or-
CDBG.
Only Boys and Girls Club and
Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
MEDC.
And in that
Women
process,
Outlaw.
they can ask for increases there too?
Yes.
So they could be asking
Yeah.
Yes.
100 from here and 100 over there and 200.
Comfort
Okay.
housing. But
We have to
generally
kind of
speaking,
monitor that.
Myself and the grants department, we pretty much see all of those requests, and so we're aware of when they're asking for multiple entities.
But we don't.
No, you would only see the DCMI, but we would let you know if you have questions. Some of them
making,
that do get from various sources are Comfort House, and Boys and Girls Club gets from all 3 entities. Comfort House gets a small amount from general fund as well, I believe.
CDBG as well.
It's a
Yeah.
very small amount,
Okay.
15.
We're making Tony nervous. I'd be okay with the request and the increase.
I thought it was just a spotlight. It was,
I think they can justify it, and I think we'll have, they'll come with the results next year. But the city's very healthy. That's why I think we're pretty soft on most of these requests.
600?
Yeah, I would say
Everyone's
600.
okay with
Okay.
6.
All right, then, if we're okay with 600, we can move on to the next one. South Texas College, the nursing program is the first one. What are our thoughts on that?
I'd like to wait on the report that they were going to be, there's a report, right? There's some
Yes.
kind of assessment or report.
They have to submit an award affidavit. They'll have to submit records to the grants
I-
department for them
a little
to,
early.
I
verify
agree.
what they're eligible to receive.
This wasn't its first full year. I mean, we should see some kind
Well,
of
especially
results
because we kind of
Most
said,
of-
okay, this is going to be a 4-year type of commitment. It better start right.
And I will admit, when they brought it to us, we had the same discussion at inception, and they did say that this would take several years to really get into motion, right? So this first year is probably not going to be the most impressive,
Right.
but we need to make sure it's moving in the right direction
Exactly.
because they were supposed to expand the level of instructors significantly to increase the student pool that was being output. But I get the impression the output is still about the same.
Yeah, I think she said they added 2 faculty members.
Yeah, added, but
Two in one program. And
then I heard then it sounded like they lost a couple too.
Yeah.
I think in that program, we need to maybe come back. We're not saying
Yeah.
no to it.
And as
No.
they mentioned,
With just a little more
Just more
information.
data.
the stipends for this part of the year were done April 10th, so we're barely April 29th today,
Yeah.
so we probably haven't seen any reporting yet.
Okay.
So-
They submitted a zero invoice because we required we submit something.
Okay.
But they told the reason for that is because they were done in April, so we ended up
see.
in May as
And in May, we'll see. So we
Okay,
can,
let's see
we
it.
can bring it back before we actually go to
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay,
With
so
the-
let's not put a dollar amount on that one yet.
Okay.
Then the next one, another STC program, which is their training program that we normally fund.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one. That one's always been, has really served the industry really well.
Well, that's our incentive sometimes to the
It
industry.
is part of our
When we
incentive,
try to lure somebody to come.
and we're still short.
And we're still short.
We're still short on that type of skill trade.
So 450 or 500?
500.
I say the 500.
500, okay. Everybody in agreement with that one? Okay, so then the next Boys and Girls Club,
Because I'm never going to turn them down.
Yeah. She knows that that's her, just the right increase. It's not too much.
Yeah.
Not to overthink it.
who's going to tell the kids
man.
no? I mean, we
Yeah.
should.
My kids have went and gone through it or in it, will be in it throughout these years. What other organizations out there that does the same thing as Boys and Girls Club then?
The
Is
city
there-
does
is
some
The
there-
city
programs.
has some programs.
The city does?
after-school
The city has a
programs.
lot of
We
them.
partner with them for some, and we have some of our own, quite a
Where?
few of
No,
them.
the city
Parks and Rec.
does
Like Lark,
real good.
and then south.
Yeah, the
golf
community
course,
centers.
The community center there.
Okay.
They have some
Kenview,
programs.
Lark.
I didn't want to put her on the spot. I was just going to ask you
Oh,
earlier,
thanks.
later.
State-
But I mean, if
Parks
there,
Department also runs some programs.
Quite a few.
but nothing to this.
They don't
Well,
have
I
like
agree.
they have programs. They do have sports programs, quite a few sports programs. But I don't think that they have like, your after school where they bus them in and they come there, but they do have a lot of programs. We've got a brochure, brand new brochure downstairs. We'll get
more
it to
like
you.
I was just wondering if there was
Well,
anything
no,
else other
I
than
mean,
Boys
but-
and Girls Club.
They don't compete, it's more like complimentary.
Yeah, they complement one another.
But we take care of the girls softball.
Yes,
Yes.
we do
City
have
does.
that. And we do have baseball and we do
Yeah.
have soccer. And
Yeah.
so what she's doing is maybe
Yeah.
just a different offering.
That's
That's
a
fine.
good, it's all
Sometimes the
complimentary.
transportation is harder for the parents to get them to the city.
425.
Okay, 425.
425.8.
8, yes. Last one, the new agency, Christian Manor. What does 125 get them again? What's,
They're
Just
bringing in a
just
social worker.
expenses.
Yeah, it's just
It would be
It's
administrative
operating?
costs, it looks like, yeah.
I mean, and they were operating specific to the new McAllen property, right?
Well, that's my concern is because it doesn't exist
No.
yet.
It doesn't exist. No.
It's gonna be a while.
Yeah. He's still
Well-
looking to purchase property, then he would have to build,
Yeah.
and
Well, it says the proposed includes 25,000 in administrative costs.
That would be
So
for his existing
what about the
program.
other 100,000? Is it?
It's operational.
Yeah.
It's operational.
Utilities,
It's
internet.
maintain the salary of the social worker.
It's
all G&A.
I think it's,
I thought there was some acquisition costs that he was asking for.
No, I think what he was asking for, and that wasn't in here, I got the impression he was asking for
Capital.
340 separate
For capital.
for
no,
a single capital project.
Because his request said between 80 and 300. So
I'm sorry?
from
What
the
was-
request, it was between, it was like,
yeah, it's between 80 and 340.
yeah.
I mean, he just,
Yeah, he mentioned 4 units at
what it would
340,000 for
cost.
6 to 9 months.
I
But
think this is going to be, you know, for us here in McAllen, it's seed money to start the program here. While obviously they have expenses in San Juan, but for them to do it here, it's seed money. It's a little seed money, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Huh?
brand new organization.
It's a brand new organization, and it's, I think it's a need. I don't know how much.
Well, it says Christian Manor requested between 85 and 333,000 to build from 1 to 4 units at the property. So I took that as, well, you're helping us to build these
Right.
apartment units. So
Well,
can we
and
just get
keep-
more information, I guess?
Yes, we
And,
can get some more information, especially since this is a startup.
to-
And, you know, it will have to be money that is spent in McAllen, just
McAllen,
like all of
yeah.
the other projects. It would not be eligible to fund people that are living in San Juan or servicing people in San Juan. So,
Might be a little premature because
Not
the
permissive.
Boys and Girls Club haven't purchased that property
Either.
yet. He already has
Right.
spotted out a piece of property around the corner. And if the boys, if that purchase doesn't come to fruition, then
he's
might
back
not
to
be
the
the spot.
I don't-
square one.
Yeah, I don't think one depends on the other, though.
No, he
You
can
still put
he
some
can still do
families,
site
some
selection
women
within
in there,
McAllen,
right?
but,
Yeah,
He was
but
That
it
was just
delays
not
it.
what
trying
he
to get next to
indicated.
Boys and Girls
Yeah.
Club. That's the reason I bring that
yeah, I
up.
remember.
But just for the board's comfort, all of our standard agreements contain language that the services provided with these funds are services provided within the city of McAllen.
So in other words, if we say yes to this request, he has to use it in the city of McAllen.
If they are not providing services within the city of McAllen, then they would be ineligible to draw on the
Okay.
request.
So basically,
Yeah.
if he doesn't do it, he won't get it.
That's right.
And the organization,
Correct,
That's right.
Christian Manor.
correct.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should consider. It's just, let's dig in a little deeper on this one and,
We can do that. We can get some more information.
um,
So you would like to see what specifically, maybe what property they're looking to buy, or if that's what this would be, the funding would be for?
yeah,
Because that
exactly.
was a little confusing.
What are we using the money for?
Right.
I think I would ask the question to him a little more generically, you know, what are your plans for development and providing services within McAllen?
Yeah.
That way you know what
Yeah.
exactly what you're funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we'll pose that question to him and get some more information.
okay.
Okay.
So we don't have to vote on this, do we?
No, we don't need to
Okay.
vote on these yet. This gives our budget director some good direction to start preparing for budget. And that is all that we have for you this evening. So if there's nothing else,
Great, all right, there will be no further business. This meeting is adjourned.
thank you.
Joe?